Hello, my name is Damon Friedman, co-founder and president of SOF Missions. As a 20-year veteran within Special Operations, I've gone through many challenges due to my military service and time in combat. We felt called to start SOF Missions to serve our fellow brothers and sisters in arms, focusing on suicide prevention and resiliency. Our mission at SOF Missions is to empower warriors to find purpose and be resilient. Since 2011, when we started the organization, almost 3 million men and women have deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. Unfortunately, the scars of war take a toll on their psychological, physical, social, and spiritual health. Many veterans feel a sense of hopelessness and a loss of purpose when they return to civilian life. They feel isolated and alone, unable to reconnect. And in the greatest of tragedies, over 20 veterans lose all hope and take their own lives. Our goal at SOF Missions is to provide veterans the tools and resources so that they don't become a statistic. We offer a unique approach to combating veteran suicide through a whole health, intradisciplinary model. The Be Resilient program is a 4-pillar methodology that addresses the areas of psychological, physical, social, and spiritual wellness. We provide care through 3 delivery methods: medical clinics, retreats, and educational training. Since we started back in 2011, we have been able to reach veterans in all 50 states and have served over 3,000 veterans through the Be Resilient program. Being resilient is a multifaceted and complex issue. We know that to find a lasting solution, we have to address the whole warrior. Many challenges cannot be solved by providing the treatments and modalities of just one component, but by tackling them all. Now, we've expanded our services to include law enforcement and first responders. Together, we can make a lasting impact in the lives of warriors across the nation. To learn more, visit our website at sofmissions.org.
For your post assignment, all units proceed to your post assignment.
All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! Mic in a room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Artists with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed, that's the misstep play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's the free right now, we're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise
lock it in and turn it up. Because this is not just another show. This is the ToosDay Crüe, where grit beats comfort. Where real conversations replace the noise, and where veterans, first responders, and everyday misfits come together to level up their lives. No scripts, no filters, no excuses. Just hard truth, hard laughs, and harder lessons learned the hard way, the long way. So wherever you're watching from, studio, squad bank, kitchen table, or the grind between goals, this is your reminder. You don't have to fit in to stand out. Now, tighten it up, lean in, and welcome the host who brings the fire every Tuesday. It's Cagney, it's Lacey, it's the ToosDay Crüe.
And good evening.
What's up, everybody?
How
Let
you
me ask
doing
you a
this evening,
question.
Stephen?
I'm good.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay,
You remember the movie Smoking Bandit?
I do fondly.
Okay. Snowman's truck. My mind was blown. Did you ever notice it's a refrigerated truck with no gas tank under it?
I did not. You know what? I usually pick up on things like that, and no, I didn't.
I
And I'm
found
gonna have
that
to
out.
watch.
My mind was blown.
I'm gonna have to watch. I'm gonna have to watch the movie again, just to, just to see that there's no fuel tank underneath that reefer trailer. Yes,
It's a refrigerated trailer with no fuel tank.
maybe
The
it's
little
solar.
things. Somebody posted that the other day, and I was like, my day is shot now.
Mind blown.
Yeah, it's terrible. The little things they miss. You never
Yes,
catch.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. Hey, we got a great one coming up tonight, Stephen.
Yes, we do.
We are honored to welcome a man who's fought both on the battlefield and for the hearts of wounded warriors. Jeremy Stalnecker is a United States Marine Corps combat veteran, former infantry platoon commander. He was in Iraq. He's a pastor and CEO of the Mighty Oaks Foundation, one of the nation's leading organizations in helping veterans and their families heal from PTSD, trauma, and the unseen wounds of war. And there's a lot of them. And his life is a powerful example of how faith, brotherhood, and purpose can turn pain into hope and restore what combat tries to take from you. And, hats off to him. It's a powerful mission statement. It's a great mission, and I'm sure it's a rewarding mission. So without any further ado, let's get Jeremy in here.
Good evening, Jeremy. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening. Thank you. It's great to be with you guys.
Got you.
Appreciate it.
Great to have you here.
You got it. All right.
Yeah,
wonderful.
We gave about the nickel version of your bio, and before we get started here, why don't you just start whenever you want to start and tell us your story. Tell us how you got here today.
Yeah, well, I'll do it. I appreciate it, and man, I'm thankful for where I've come from and what God's brought me through. I guess I was raised in a great home, and I'm thankful for my family and for the home that I was raised in. My dad was actually a pastor, and it's funny looking back because I always tell people I knew growing up in a pastor's home that I did not want to be a pastor, had no desire to be in ministry. And that's part of the reason probably that I went into the Marine Corps. And I was commissioned out of college. And really for me was the fulfillment of a lifelong dream to be a United States Marine officer. I was an infantry officer. And that process, if anyone's familiar with, or for those that are familiar with the process of becoming a commissioned officer in the Marine Corps, it's a little bit different than the other services in that you're commissioned as an officer. But you don't get to select your MOS. Unless you're a pilot, you're going to get the MOS that they give to you. And I was one of those people that thought that all Marines were infantry Marines. I didn't realize there were other jobs, and so I wanted to do. And I was super thankful that that's the job that I was given. Sent to Camp Pendleton. I deployed to Okinawa and some of the other normal deployments pre-war with the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, and served as a rifle platoon commander. And then eventually, and a lot happened kind of in that time, but eventually in 2003, went to Kuwait with the 1st Marine Division. And in March of 2003, the division went into Iraq. A lot of folks remember that, of course, March 19th and 20th. The 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, our infantry battalion, was the 1st Marine Infantry Battalion into the country. And we secured the southern objective there on the border. 1st KIA of the war, Lieutenant Shane Childers was one of our guys. Made our way to Baghdad. And long story short, when we got to Baghdad, we then came home, eventually got back to Southern California, landed at March Air Reserve Base, and 30 days later, I was out of the Marine Corps. The thing I had never wanted to do, to be in ministry, is the thing that I was going to do. And I left the Marine Corps. Man, that transition from leading Marines in combat to serving at a church and going into ministry was a crazy transition. I had a lot of problems. Struggled in my marriage, struggled in my job, struggled in just about every area of my life until some good people stepped in and helped me and got me back on track. Eventually, I did pastor a church, got involved with the work that we do now at the beginning of the founding of the Mighty Oaks Foundation, and really saw the two parts of my life, military and ministry, come together. And now we serve veterans, service members, and first responders, and it's been amazing, and I'm very grateful for that path. It hasn't been without its ups and downs and hard times, of course, but God's been very good to us.
Awesome. That is great. And I was just, I did a little bit of research, went through your website and everything, and some of the things that y'all are doing, and we're going to talk about a few of those, are just amazing. That's yeah, it's just amazing, some of the stuff that you do. Now, I take it you are it is a nonprofit organization, and I like it that going through there that you have opened it up to first responders as well as veterans.
Yeah,
because kind of go through what are some differences in dealing with first responders versus veterans. I know some see a lot of the same stuff, but I know that there are some differences.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. We started in 2012, and it was myself, another Marine. And the reason we started really, fundamentally, was to serve combat veterans, combat Marine veterans early in the beginning, because that's who we knew. We came home, we struggled, we had the right people step into our lives. And yet in 2012, we had a lot of combat folks coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. They'd gotten the help that they could through the VA. VA does a great job with the body and not as great a job with the mind and all of those things. And we know that, right? This is a challenge that a lot of people have coming back. And we reached out to the people that we knew, those combat veterans that we knew, and wanted to pull them in and help them learn some of the things that we had learned along the way. That's really kind of the genesis of Mighty Oaks. And so it began, we developed a program, and we just did that for a long time. We helped combat veterans, and only male combat veterans. And then we started working with some active duty service members from the Wounded Warrior Battalion at Camp Pendleton. These were Marine, veterans. They're serving active duty Marines, veterans of the wars who were kind of in a holding pattern, but active duty. And they came to us, and we started to work then with the active duty community. We had some Marine Corps leadership come to us and say, you do a great program for Marines, for men, but no programs for female Marines. Would you start a women's program? And so we did. We started a women's program, and we started working with not only male Marines, but female. Marines, and then started working with other services. And all of this is happening kind of organically. And it was really just us learning and figuring it out as we went, and helping people and getting feedback and developing a program that was effective to really get to the heart of many of the challenges of men and women who were serving. So all of that said, we're working with the military services, had no thought of ever working with the first responder community. And then we had a first responder reach out to us who was part of the national response team. He was at ground zero on September 11th. I think he got there actually September 12th, and really struggled and didn't have anywhere to go. And so we said, look, we only do programs for veterans and service members, but we'd be happy for you to come and attend. I don't know if it's going to work, if you're going to get anything out of it, but we'd be happy for you to come and attend. And he did. And during the week that he was with us, the bond between him as someone who wasn't a service member, but served as he was both police and fire at one time in his life. The bond that happened between him as a first responder and those veterans that were there was incredible. We saw this healing take place in his life. And what we realized, I think, in real time was that the cause of the trauma may be different. The cause of those challenges that those men and women are dealing with may be different. They came from a different place, but the path forward is the same. And so we started to go, all right, well, they're hurting and they need help. They have nowhere else to go. Let's start to incorporate them, these first responders, into our veterans programs, which we did. And then the demand became so big that we started a separate, same program, but separate program just for first responders. There are some differences. And I think the major difference is that when you've served in a combat environment, even if you have multiple deployments, you've served in a combat environment, a traumatic event takes place, whatever that is. It could be the loss of the folks that you serve with. It can be something that happens to you personally. It can be any number of things. You have that trauma that happens, but it happens 12,000 miles away. And then you come home, and that traumatic event is something that happened over there. You now have space and time separating you from that event, and you can hopefully, process and work through that. If you're a working first responder, you deal with something in the morning, you put on a clean uniform in the afternoon, and you go back to work. When the day's over, you go home, you spend time with your family, with your children, and you get up the next day and do it again. And so the way I've heard it described is the difference between that acute trauma of combat and then the slow drip of trauma that those in the first responder community deal with. And so they're taking that trauma and they're putting it in their pack day after day for 30 years, never dealing with it, never addressing it. And then their time in service, their time in uniform ends. And now all of a sudden they have to address it. And so I think that's the major difference, is just the reality that those in the first responder community are dealing with these crazy situations, and then getting up day after day after day and doing it over and over again.
Yeah, and I can understand. You talk about the veterans have their trauma overseas and they come home and everything. I can imagine, and this just came to me, that a first responder, say that you respond to just an awful fire or whatever you're doing, and you end up having to pass that place every day on your way to work, or and I can imagine that would probably trigger stuff back and forth. Yeah,
I had a conversation with a firefighter a couple of years ago, and he was describing this to me, and he said it's crazy. He said, I went out on a call where it was a vehicle accident. Everyone in the car died. There was a little girl who died, and her body was on the asphalt. We had to get her up. We had to clean that up. That same day, we had a community pancake breakfast. So we had to go back to the firehouse after that event, change our uniforms, put on a clean uniform, and go out and do a pancake breakfast. There's just never that moment where they are able to address what most people will never have to deal with one time in their life, and they're doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
basically, it comes down to whether it happens across the ocean or right in your backyard. It was run free right here forever, and you just have to learn how to deal and get that out of your system
Yeah.
and try to straighten your life out. Because it doesn't matter where it
And
happens;
that's
it's living right here. You know.
and that's right. And to that, um, we in the beginning I mentioned we were working with combat veterans, so we're dealing with these combat issues. But what we have discovered over the years, and to your point, is that a lot of what men and women who've served will call issues related to combat, we find out as we're talking to them that they were traumatized as children. They were traumatized at some other point in their life. It's crazy, and people have a hard time believing this when I say it, but about 70% of the men that attend our programs were sexually assaulted as children. About 70% sexually assaulted as children.
wow.
And so, yeah, it is. It's not really always a question of where it happens, because it's in your heart and your mind that you have to learn how to address, whether it happened as a child and you took it into your military service, or you're dealing with it as a first responder every day, or it was a combat, trauma situation, whatever the case. I say this all the time. You're going to deal with it now, or you're going to deal with it later. But at some point, you will deal with the trauma that you've been through.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like everything else. If you leave it to fester, it's only going to get worse.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Stephen, we got any questions up yet?
Yeah, we do. As a matter of fact, let me see. Come on, there we go. At Bama Sucks 9 wants to know, or is stating, Lacey mentioned 2 groups you work with. I see you have expanded to spouses and foreign military vets as well. What made you run towards that objective?
Yeah,
Thank you
great
for that
question.
Bama Sucks.
Yeah, great question. So I'll address the spouses first. Again, so I was in the Marine Corps. I'm married. I had 2 little kids when I was gone, and so many of the folks that we work with are married. They have a spouse, and the issues, the challenges that the veteran or the service member are dealing with are not isolated with them. Their spouse, their families are also dealing with whatever trauma they've experienced. One of the things that happens often is that a spouse will take on kind of that role of caregiver. And so in the process of caring for their loved one, they lose themselves, they lose their identity, their understanding of who they are, their purpose, and those things that we would talk about with the veteran. The caregiver, the spouse, is also struggling with those things. And so understanding and acknowledging that those who are dealing with trauma, that trauma extends to their family. We started to include or open the door for spouses of veteran service members and first responders, inviting them to come to spend the week with us. They go through the exact same course. It's not different. They're included in what's happening. So if the husband is the spouse, he's in the men's program. If the wife is the spouse, she's in the women's program. And it's been really neat to watch. It's been, I think, very healing for a lot of folks. One, because they're maybe hearing about the trauma and where it comes from, and understanding that other people are going through that and dealing with it. But they're also learning how to heal personally from kind of the secondary trauma, if you will, that they've dealt with their own family member. And so that's been an area of great growth for us and opportunity. With the foreign military, this is something that we never saw coming. We learned how to do what we do. And again, it was trial and error. It was a lot of work and a lot of people speaking into it, developed a curriculum, developed a program, and all the things that we do. And we started to have chaplains primarily at first from other militaries reach out to us and ask if we would help teach them how to serve the folks that they're working with. And so we started to do that kind of on a small scale, and then it's really grown so that we have teams of folks we'll send to We've been in Europe. We've been in South America. We've been in a number of places, working with the chaplaincy or working with the command leadership to help them know how to walk through some of these trauma issues with their own folks. It's interesting, we don't always think about this, but in the United States, we have a lot of resources pushed toward leadership and folks that are trying to grapple with these issues. And in a lot of other places, they're not. And so we've been able to step into that gap. So, yeah, great questions.
Now, so you're global,
right?
And that's awesome. But so you're a soldier or a Marine, sailor, airman, and we contact you that, hey, I want to get into one of your programs. How's that work?
Yeah, well, so we've been blessed with some great partnerships. We cover the cost of the program, so there's no financial cost to the program. We cover the cost of travel to get to the program, so the only thing you have to do is give up your time, and we take care of all of the other, even the logistics and the planning. We do all of that. Our program is 5 days long. It's held at one of 5 locations across the country. We have 5 ranches across the country. And again, we'll bring you to those locations. All of the folks that are involved in leadership and training and teaching started as students. And so it's very much a peer-to-peer environment. They're teaching classes, but they're teaching it from the position of, I know where you are. I've been there. I've struggled the same way you've struggled. And I'm working this out. I'm moving forward, and I want to take you with me. And so it creates this environment that tears down those walls of, mistrust and you don't know where I've been. And so it's a great environment. And so if someone wants to attend, a veteran, a service member, a first responder, or a spouse, they go to our website. There's a big apply button. They go ahead and apply. And then our team reaches out to them and figures out, where and when and all the details related to it. But it's very, very simple. Years ago, we made the decision to do everything we possibly could to prevent any obstacle for those who are in need of healing and help to get that healing and help. And so we do as much as we can to make it as easy as possible.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
We have more rolling in. Here's the next one. From Kells and Jim, they want to know, you've led Marines in combat, now lead men and women through their healing. What broke you before anything began to heal?
Man. Yeah. So, yeah. I didn't know I was coming for that question. Yeah. So
you got it though.
No, and it's a great question. And really, so the premise of what we do at Mighty Oaks is we would say it's very testimonial. It's all from that position, right? It's let me share with you what's happened in my life so that I can hopefully give you the hope that you can heal as well. I mentioned that I came home from Iraq. I was leading Marines in combat. It's the only thing I had ever wanted to do, and I did it. I was so grateful for it. I had already put in my paperwork to get out. So we were stop loss for a short time because it was the beginning of the war. I didn't know how all that was going to work out, but I knew when I got out, I'd be out, or when we got back, I'd be out. So we came home, landed at March Air Force Base. 30 days later, I had processed out of the Marine Corps. I was off active duty and started working at a church. It was the church that we had been attending. And I don't have a Bible degree. I don't have a seminary degree or anything like that. But the pastor of the church, who was our pastor, said, I need someone who can lead. We got a lot of projects, and I need someone who can do a lot of that. And so would you come and do that? I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. It seemed like a good place for our family. I'd been married for a couple of years. We had 2 little kids. So on the surface, it all seemed like a perfect situation. But I had been leading Marines in combat, and now a month later, I'm working with church volunteers. And I'm trying to do these things that seemed in the scope of what I had been a part of so unimportant. It seemed so unimportant. And I started to say things like, these people here don't know what it's like to be me. They don't know what I've done or what I've experienced. They don't know where I've been. And I first became really frustrated frustrated just with the environment and all the rest of it. And that frustration led to anger. I was super angry at home. I mean, screaming at my kids, knocking things over, throwing things, just a disaster. My wife, man, praise the Lord, she stayed with me, but she stayed away from me and kept the kids away from me. I'm working on a church staff, right? So I'm blowing things up at home, and then I'm going to work at church. And I was not much better there. In fact, my pastor eventually called me into his office and said, this is not working. You're so disruptive here. And this is 2003. We're not talking about PTSD or anything like that. And so he said, I don't know what's going on with you, but whatever's happening can't happen here. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who I was. It was a big identity issue. I came home from Iraq. The unit that I was a part of, 1-5, they rotated back. They were in the first Battle of Fallujah. And I started to hear about combat deaths in Fallujah, Marines that I had served with and Marines that were in my platoon. And it just, again, frustrated, angry, didn't know who I was, started to have thoughts like the world would be a better place without me. I was living in Oceanside, California. I would drive my Toyota truck down to the beach and just sit there and think about how much better things would be if I wasn't around. I mean, this is what I was going through, and it happened pretty fast. I didn't know anyone else who had struggled that way. I didn't know a combat veteran before I went to Iraq, other than, like World War II veterans that I had met or Desert Storm veterans, something like that, but very detached. Like I didn't know people who were struggling through this or working through this. And so, yeah, I just didn't know where to go, what to do, what to think. And then I had some men, my dad being one of them, my pastor being another one, a couple other guys at the church, really confront me on my behavior. And it wasn't like, hey, we know you were in combat and you're trying to deal with this. It was, you're being an ass to your family. You're super out of control. We don't know what is happening, but we'll do whatever we can to help you. But you've got to get over yourself. And it really was that tone. And I, take that how you will, but that's probably what I needed at that moment in my life. I needed some men to stand in front of me and say, this is not okay. The way you're acting, the things you're saying, the way you're treating people, it's not okay. And, in a weird way, that's when the bottom fell out, because I was justifying my behavior. I was justifying the way I was treating people. I'd always say, well, if they knew where I came from. It's stupid looking back on it, but it was so real in the moment. And it wasn't until people confronted me that the bottom fell out, and I went, oh, yeah, it's not everybody else that's the problem. Now, that didn't mean I didn't have some real issues to work through, and I did, but I had to hit the bottom, and that was it. I mean, I remember, my wife would sit in the driveway of our house and sit there with the kids and try to build up the courage to just drive away. I mean, this is what I was living through while also working at a church. And so having those guys step into my life, and then that began the process of healing. And it was a long process. I mean, several years, but that began the process of healing. It's interesting, to that question too, when I finally started to move forward and had those people come into my life and started to make better decisions, I still thought that there was something wrong with me. I didn't think that this had anything to do with combat or anything. I just thought there was something broken in me. And so I didn't stay connected to people in the Marine Corps. I didn't stay connected to the people I served with. I was proud of my service, but I walked away from it as fast as I could because it just hurt too much. And then 10 years later, one of the Marines I served with reached out to me, and he was getting some other guys together that we'd all been in Iraq together. And this was 10 years. And he said, would you come and spend the weekend with us? And so I did. That was the first time I had talked to anyone that I served with. First time I'd been around those guys, again, in 10 years, still thinking I was the only one that had struggled. And then I started to hear stories when I was with them, started to hear stories of these Marines that I knew that had come home and taken their lives, had ruined their marriages, were struggling through the other stuff in life. And it was like this epiphany moment where I realized, oh, I'm not special. Like the challenges I had in my life, the struggles that I had, the thoughts that I had, that wasn't unique to me. the thing that made me unique was that I was in a home environment and a church environment and a community environment where people could help me get back on my feet.
Mm-hmm.
That made me unique. And so a lot of these guys that I had served with, they were struggling the same way, but they didn't have the same resources that I did. And that became the catalyst for me saying, I've got to do something to help the people that I served with. That's why we started with Marines. It was like, well, these are the people I know. So
Yeah.
I'm going to do whatever I can to just help these guys. And that became something much bigger.
Okay.
Fantastic.
All right.
Now leading from there, I have a question from Nathan Koch. He wants to know, how has your faith influenced the way Mighty Oaks approaches healing differently than a purely clinical or secular model?
Yeah.
Thank you for that question, Nathan.
Yeah, great question. And I would say it has entirely influenced how we do things. We are what we would call a faith-based nonprofit. So we approach, all of these issues that we talk about, we approach all of them from a faith perspective. So the difference, if I could just kind of sum up the difference, is that we start with faith instead of working toward faith. And a clinician will say, well, we need to start with, clinical approaches and medication and therapies. And if faith is important, then we'll add it later. We start with faith and say, well, if you don't have a faith foundation, if your foundation isn't right, then it doesn't matter whatever other modalities or therapies are used, they're going to fall short because you don't have the right foundation. Meaning this, if you don't know who you are, then you can numb away your pain and your hurt. You can do that, but you'll never actually experience healing because you haven't started with, this is who I am. So our approach is, we believe there is a creator, God. We believe that if God is the creator, then there's purpose in our design. And if there's purpose in our design, then there's hope. So what does that mean practically? It means that my identity, although I've wrapped it up maybe in the trauma, what's happened to me, or a job that I had that I don't have anymore, it's been taken away from me, a rank that I held, something else. Although I once found my identity in those things that have been taken away, when I look at this from a faith perspective, I realize my identity should be wrapped up in who God made me to be, and that doesn't change. When your identity's in a trauma, a hurt, even good things that happen, a job you loved, a rank that you had, when those are taken away, if your identity is there, then your identity's gone and you're lost. That's what happened to me. It wasn't until I realized, no, my identity is in who God made me to be, and that doesn't change. Doesn't matter what my job is or what happens in my life, that doesn't change. The foundation is right. And so you have to lay the right foundation so that you can then build that life. And that's our approach. We start from there, and it's amazing when people understand an identity in something that doesn't change, a relationship with God. They've established an identity, then they find purpose again. And when they find purpose, then they find hope. And when they find hope, then they're able to move forward in a meaningful way. We are not, organizationally against clinical approaches to this. I understand a lot of, clinical approaches, therapies, and those kind of things can be very, very helpful, very helpful. But the starting point needs to be answering the question, who am I? Fundamentally, who am I? Who was I created to be? And so we start there, and that really informs or influences the way we address all of these issues.
All right. All right. That's I like it, starting from a faith base. I think that could work, and you're proving it. It works.
Okay, more questions here. This one's been sitting for a while, so I'm gonna throw it up. That Cookies and Cream wants to know, a lot of veterans say, I'm fine, when they clearly are not. What does that phrase usually mean when you hear it?
Well, I guess when I hear it, generally it's because I'm asking someone that I know isn't fine, how they're doing, and they say I'm fine, and I realize that, that's just part of the facade that we all like to put up. One of the challenges in working with veterans and service members and first responders is that we have all been taught. I mean, this isn't something that we just kind of came on. We've been taught that you need to put up a wall. You need to stand behind that wall. You've got a job to do, and it's a job that shouldn't be influenced by anything else that's happening around you. And so we put up this facade that we hide behind. And the problem is we take it then into the rest of our lives. And so when people say, I'm fine, I think most of the time what they're trying to do is say, I don't need your help, or I'm not interested in getting help, or you wouldn't understand even if I told you. So it depends on who's asking the question, and I guess who's answering the question. But when I'm talking to someone, and this is a little bit unique for me because of the work that I do, the job that I have, and people know where I'm coming from, I don't stop when that answer is given. So I'm fine. Well, tell me what's really going on. Tell me what's really going on. Have you had any struggles? Have you had any challenges? Depending on, again, the person, maybe they've transitioned out of the military. Tell me what that was like. Tell me about the transition out of the military. And so it's asking permission, and you have to ask permission. You can't make anyone be honest with you, but you're asking their permission to hear their story. Tell me your story. Tell me what this was like. Tell me what that was like. Tell me maybe some of the struggles you have had transitioning out of the military, and see where that leads. This is why the environment that we create in our programs is a peer-to-peer environment. This isn't right, but this is how it is. It's not right for someone who's been in the military or is a first responder to look at a clinician or look at a faith leader, a pastor, or someone else and say, well, since you haven't been in the military, you can't help me. It's not right that that happens, but it does happen. And so what we try to do is create this environment where everyone in the room has a similar background. So when you're in that environment and someone says, what's going on, you can say, I'm fine, but no one's going to believe that you're fine because they all know where you're coming from. They've all been in the same place. That wall has been torn down, and it creates this trust, which leads to transparency. And it's a process. It's a process for sure. But that is, I think, the power in having people with similar backgrounds get together and work together and encourage each other, because it immediately leads to this buy-in. I mean, the three of us, we just met, right? But because we have a similar background, we didn't serve in the same places or in the same way necessarily, but we've all got this background of service. There's a common ground, and there's common language, and there's a common conversation that we can have because of that. And it just removes so much of the I'm fine language from trying to really help someone. I know that was a wandering answer, but it is tough, and you have to have buy-in, and often that comes from shared experience.
Okay, and I want noted for the record, I have not made fun of you for being a Marine yet.
I've heard it said that whether you were a Marine or you were in the Navy or in the Air Force, you were in the Army, we all have one thing in common. And the one thing is we all wanted to be Marines, but some of us couldn't make it. So I get it. I mean, if you can't, that's fine.
Touche.
And we all do the best we can with the gifts God's given us. And some of us are able to be Marines with that.
Yes.
Did you feel that poke, Jake? That was pretty.
Oh yeah, I felt the poke.
Hold on. I enjoyed that myself, watching that.
Oh man, these questions are rolling in this evening.
And in the chat, Frank just said, give that man a box of crayons. There you go.
That's all you guys have is the crayon joke.
Well, yeah. We got more, but we're live, and this is a family-oriented show, so
right. We'll talk later.
Yeah. Hang out after we drop off.
All right, we have one or two more questions here. Let's throw one at you.
All right.
Selective Service Kid wants to know. I see on your website it mentions resilient speakers. Are these in-house speakers, or you bring in other amazing people as well? That's a good
Yeah,
question.
another
Thank
great,
you for that.
yeah, another great question. We always or have and probably always will use, I guess it'd be called in-house. These are people that work for us or that have been a part of our program, and they speak on resilience, but they speak on, the topic would be spiritual resilience or spiritual resiliency. We have the opportunity because of people that have come through the program and learned in the context of our program how to communicate what it is to be spiritually resilient, how to get back up when you get knocked down, what that means and what that looks like, what qualities or characteristics need to be put in prior to getting knocked down. And so much of our resiliency speaking is speaking to active duty service members, speaking at police departments, fire departments, to men and women, hopefully before they've struggled, so that we can prepare them so that when they do, they're able to get back up. And that's become a huge area for us. The military in particular, well, that's not true. The fire departments and police departments are constantly reaching out to us, but the military in a big way, constantly looking for folks that can help prepare their, airmen, soldiers, sailors, Marines, to go and do the job they're being called to do and do it well. The suicide issue is a big issue. It's one that hasn't gone away. It's only gotten worse. And so the opportunity to speak on resilience is, it's a huge opportunity for us. That was a really long answer to a very simple question. In-house, although we're connected to a lot of great speakers as well, and through conferences and other opportunities, we'll often speak with a lot of other people from a lot of other places. We have a couple of podcasts that we're involved in that we bring other people into to help influence the conversations.
All right.
All right, and I don't want to sound mean or anything. I've never been in the military. Jake, our producer, both retired Army. I'm just a regular guy here. I just didn't want you to think that I was military the way you said, the way you guys do. I've never
I got
been
you.
in. All right. I got another question for you, though. We Miss Gotti 86 wants to know. Moral injury isn't talked about nearly enough. What's the danger of treating spiritual wounds like they're just mental ones? Thank you for that question.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's also a question that we could probably spend at least the next couple of episodes on. We would say it this way, and this is how we try to communicate this, and particularly when we talk about moral injury. So, a moral injury, or that term moral injury, it speaks to something which violates held moral beliefs. So we believe in right and wrong, and we are involved in something that violates our belief in what is right, or we're doing something that we have believed is wrong. I've heard it put this way, and this is helpful to me, that trauma is something that's happened to you. Moral injury is something that you've happened to. So trauma is something you can't control. It impacts you from somewhere else. Moral injury often comes from, things that you get involved in that violate those held moral beliefs or principles. An example that comes to mind is when we were in Baghdad, a number of firefights there, and it was a crazy time. The Battle of Baghdad on April 10th was our battalion, and so we rolled into the city, dealing with enemy fighters, but we're in the middle of a city the size of Los Angeles. And so you've got people who are trying to get out of the way. You've got a lot of things happening. One checkpoint I was standing at, and we had a machine gun position set up. There was a vehicle that was rolling toward us, and it wouldn't stop. And we were there, and we had been there a long time, and it wouldn't stop. So I told that machine gun, open fire, stop it. It did. Turns out it was a family, mom, dad, kids. And that, that would fall into that category of moral injury. It wasn't certainly something we wanted to do, but it was something we were involved in and something we did. And so, yeah, you can't treat a moral injury, or what we would call a spiritual wound, as though it's something clinical. a spiritual wound requires a spiritual solution, which is why we address these issues from a faith position, because trauma, something done by someone else to you, man, you think about the traumatic issues that so many people have to deal with. I mean, even outside of the military, right? There's just crazy stuff. The trauma that is inflicted on people, that impacts us on a spiritual level. It also affects our mental state, our emotions, the rest of it, but it causes a spiritual wound. That word trauma, it comes from a Greek word that means wound. And that's exactly what happens. And so whether it's something that was done to you or something that you did, you have to deal with the spiritual aspect of that. And you have to learn how to reconcile that and how to deal with that. And without a faith foundation or an understanding of faith, I don't think you can. So the danger is addressing spiritual wounds with a clinical solution is you're not actually addressing the wound. You're putting a Band-Aid on the wound. You might as well be putting a Band-Aid on a sucking chest wound. Maybe it'll help for a minute, but it's not going to fix the problem. And so you're not actually addressing the problem. You're just covering the problem. This is my issue with prescribed medication from the VA for things like post-traumatic stress. There's not a medication that fixes this problem. There are medications that numb it away, cause you to not feel, make it so that you can't, function, but you're not feeling the feelings you once felt. It's not fixing the problem, though. It's just masking the problem. And so, yeah, great question. You have to address spiritual wounds with a spiritual solution. And then there may be other things that can help along the way, but it has to start there. And that's why we start there.
Okay. All right. Cool.
We're
I think we got yeah.
We're stepping on each other again.
Sorry about that. But yeah, we got time. Shoot. We can do it.
At Boom Goes the Dynamite. I love that name. Is that Cleveland from the Family Guy? Is that what he says? Anyway.
Yes.
What do families often get wrong when they're trying to support a veteran who's struggling?
Yeah, man, this is one of those, there's no cookie cutter answer to that question, but I think as counterintuitive as this is going to sound, the thing they get wrong is they try too hard to get the person they're attempting to help to respond. Before a person is going to open up, to be honest, to have these conversations, to be transparent, to get the help they need, there has to be a level of trust, and sometimes that just takes a long time. I always encourage families to make it known that they're present, make it known that they're available, even offer resources, books, or pointing to, hey, I heard about this organization that helps veterans or works with veterans. Check it out. Things like that. Encouraging to look at resources and to read books and to do the rest, and being there, being present, being loving, being kind. But being very careful not to push to the point of pushing the people that you're trying to help away. And, that's a fine line sometimes. Sometimes people need to be pushed. I told you, the people in my life didn't worry about pushing me away. They got in my way, they got in my face, and they said, you need help. But I responded to that and didn't push them away. So I don't know what would have happened if I, had pushed back, but, love, care, concern, presence, resourcing as you can, and then just letting that process take its course.
Okay. All right.
The first thing that came to my mind when that question was asked is me being on the outside. I can't say, Jake, I know what you went through when that bomb went off there and this happened or something, because you know what? I've never witnessed that. There's no way I can help you. Sure. I can hug you and pat your back a little bit, but that's as far as I can go.
I tell you what, Stephen, a hug from you means a lot. So.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, tell you what, Nate piped in here again. He's got one. He piped in twice. So let's go ahead and get his question on there, and we'll answer that last one there, and then we'll start to wrap up.
All right. So from Nathan Koch again. I'm sure many veterans and first responders experience real connection and momentum during the program, but what have you found is most important in helping that feeling continue once they return to life?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's the $1 million question right there. When you're in that 5-day environment and you're around other people like you and all of those things that we've talked about, good decisions are made, but follow through on those decisions is what becomes very challenging. And so we have a 5-day program, but we also have a very robust aftercare program and system. We have folks who are focused only on helping those who've graduated from our programs get the resources they need to follow through on that. If they need marriage counseling, we'll get them connected to marriage counselors and help them with that. If they need substance abuse counseling or a substance abuse program, we'll work with them to get into that. Whatever additional resources or follow-on resources they need, we'll help connect them to. We stay intentionally connected to every graduate every week for 6 months. And so they're constantly hearing from us for that 6-month period, trying to get them on track or back on track or whatever the case. And so we do what we can to really help them follow through on the decisions that they made. What else, though, is very powerful is getting into community. We'll tell every graduate, you need to find a church community. These are people that will love you, will care for you, will be there for you. And, maybe they served, maybe they didn't serve, but it doesn't matter as a church community. If you're in a good church, they have systems in place and people in place and groups in place that can help you every week. They can be there for you. They can be there for your family. And so it comes down to not trying to follow through on this or do this alone. You cannot do it alone. Isolation will destroy you. You need to get around other people. And so that follow on, we do our part to connect to those resources, but the graduate, the person who makes those good decisions, need to put themselves in a good community environment where they can be encouraged and helped. And we'll help find a good community environment. That's part of what we do. You're going back home to some town somewhere. We'll work with you and we'll figure out what's going on there and see if we can connect you to a local church or local community group that can be a help to you.
All right. Well, hey, Jeremy, this has been a great show. We got a few more things here before we wrap up. Folks, if you're listening out there tonight, we've got the website running across the banner across the bottom. It is www.mightyoaksprograms.org. Hey, if you're out there, you're a veteran, you're a first responder, you're a spouse of a veteran, spouse of a first responder, and you need help, reach out. The help is there. And also you go on their website. It tells all about them, tells about their programs. You want to buy some swag. They got some great looking swag. And also they've got a button to donate. And if you feel like giving back and giving to veterans and first responders, I highly recommend giving to this program. So thank you very much. Nathan Koch says, great guest, gents. Keep up the good fight, Jeremy. Great cause and an awesome way to spread the wonderful power and healing of the gospel. Thank you, Nathan. All right. Before we wrap up, we've got a question for you, and this here might be the toughest one you have to answer yet this evening.
I don't know. I got him before with the other question.
What are 3 things that Jeremy has to do every day that are non-negotiable?
Oh, man. Have to do 3 things. I don't know if there are 3 non-negotiables every day. Wow. Well, I could give the spiritual answer and say, pray and read my Bible. That's 2 things, I guess. But
okay. I'll tell you what, I'll give you 2 for that.
All right. I'll try to have a devotional time every day. So you could call that one thing if you want to. Non-negotiable when I'm home is to spend time with my wife. We have an opportunity, a couple minutes every day. We do the same thing every day where we sit down and we connect and, just talk about what's going on with our family and those kind of things, which I'm very thankful for. And then, as often as I'm home, and I travel a lot, but as often as I'm home, dinner time is very important for our family. That's when the kids get together. We all get around the table And so those are three things. I don't know if I'd quite put them in the category of non-negotiable, but those are three things that I do, probably 90% of the time that I'm home. A devotional time,
Okay.
time with my wife, and then time with the family.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on this evening. Misfit Nation,
Sure.
if you're out there, thank you for joining us. And if you're out there, you're seeing the darkness and you don't think that you want to be here tomorrow, get on that telephone, pick it up, dial 988, take option 1 if you're a veteran, and somebody will get you the help that you need. And as always, if you don't want to call them, get in touch with us at info@themisfitnation.com, Steven@themisfitnation.com, or Jake@themisfitnation.com. Drop your number in there. One of us will call you, and we will get in touch with you and be texting each other and trying to get you the help that you need, because tomorrow will not be as good a day without you in it. Steven, what, you got a parting shot for us?
Check us out on Roots Across America, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're on Heroes Media Group. I want to thank Jeremy for hanging out with us tonight. It was a great chat, very informational. Hopefully our audience, along with their great questions, enjoyed it as much as I did.
I appreciate it.
That's it. Have a good night, everybody. Jeremy, thank you again.
Yeah,
Thank
Jeremy,
you all.
hang out for a few. Got some questions for you when we get off here.
We'll do it. Thank
Love
you guys.
y'all.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.